We are overly excited to have Callum Ilott, driver to number 77, Juncos Hollinger Racing Chevrolet, with us today. Callum, thank you so much for your time. How are you doing today?
Thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm good. I've just been training in the morning, so trying to get ready for Texas, the G-forces on the neck and that. But all good here.
Now, this is your second season with the team. We were at Portland 2021 for your debut race. How has your experience been being part of a team growing their presence in IndyCar?
Yeah, it's been interesting. Definitely from the start, I didn't really understand what I was getting myself into. Number one with the series, and number two with the team. But everything's a developing process, and it's been great to be a part of that, and really from the ground up help build what is now, I would say, a competitive IndyCar team, which is Juncos Hollinger Racing. So, yeah, it's been great. It's been great to work with Ricardo and Brad, the two owners of the team, and with the engineers as well. We've slowly, surely built up what we've had and improved it every step of the way. And I think even last year we thoroughly impressed a lot of people, a lot of teams with what we managed to do on some of the toughest race weekends.
Now, over at St. Peter's this past weekend, you came from 22nd to 5th, your fifth place in the points. Is this an indicator, as you mentioned, about the progress of the team and now your second appearance at St. Pete's?
Yeah, it definitely. Well, I mean, obviously I know more of the technicalities of it. I think from an overall perspective, yes, it's a good indicator of improving. I think on all the little things, especially over the winter. We've just got a much more solid baseline, which showed. Obviously, St. Pete, I think the qualifying and the Friday, Saturday was not strong. We realized a bit where we needed to improve. Obviously, I think even the car was much better than last year, but we just missed it in some aspects, which is IndyCar in a way. But the race, yeah, just from my side, improving as a driver, taking my time and understanding a bit more how these races work and when to attack and when not to attack. So that was much better my side, and as a team, I think we executed the strategy very well. We executed the pit stops very well, and we had a solid race car. So it was impressive, I think, both from a driving point of view and a team point of view, and definitely a good start, and hopefully a good show of momentum that we can carry forward in these next couple of races.
Now, one follow up question with the strategy. We saw a lot of caution flags during the race. Was this something where for your team they were constantly adjusting, or was this something where with this race we just anticipated those cautions and they just sort of fell where it worked well with the strategy?
Yeah, it's you're kind of always adjusting, but for us the cautions fell quite well under the strategy that we were doing because we had the middle stint with those green Waiuli tires that weren't were kind of a bit of no man's land. You either had to go 10 laps on them and change and gamble on a three stop, or you had to do 30 laps on them. So to have a good solid 10 or 12 laps of my middle stint under the yellow flags, full course yellow was good for us. So there is an adjustment, but we were on the better side of that adjustment and made our lives easier. But I would say like even 22nd after the crash, I was about 19th at the beginning. And then going from there, I managed to undercut a lot of guys on the strategy that I was doing without any yellows. So I had already got myself up to like I think 13th or 11th after the first pit stop, which just shows that we were on the right track.
Now, this year you have a rookie teammate, and the first time in IndyCar you have a teammate. How has the experience been with a rookie teammate? Is there any difference in approach to having a teammate in IndyCar compared to over in Europe where you have a teammate?
Yeah, I'll start with the approach. Number one, in Europe, or of everything I'd kind of experienced, excluding the GT side, because that's quite a bit different. It was always your teammate is the target and someone you're always trying to beat. I would say that it's a little bit different over here, especially considering he's a rookie and all of that. It's more about getting him up to speed as quick as possible, because that helps us as a team, and actually, to be fair, helps me as a driver to improve as well. The more I can learn, because I'm still in kind of a stage where I've only ever learnt from myself and what I can do, which has its limitations. So getting him up to speed was the most important. I think he did a great job at St. Pete. There's still obviously a little bit to do, and the last bit is the hardest, but he definitely showed that he can do a great job. And um, within that, I think a little bit later in the year it will become more important to us, especially when we get to like the Indy 500 testing. Having that extra data is massive. I'd say right now, because Augustine is brand new to single seaters, brand new to IndyCar, it is a developing phase for him, and he's done a great job so far. But it's more like, okay, here's where you need to be, here's what you need to learn, and obviously we have the data. He can do back to backs of the option tests that I'm doing. But of course, we come to the weekends, it's so fast paced. It's a little bit of a catch up for him, but St. Pete was great. I did learn a couple of things as well, so that was nice. First weekend where I can look at something and go, oh, there's some stuff to learn for me. So I'm looking forward to it. The rest of the season, he's a lovely guy, very enthusiastic and hardworking. So it'll be good fun.
Now, the next race, of course, Texas Motor Speedway. Last year, you completed 247 out of 248 laps. You even led some laps in the race and came home 16th. Coming to Texas now for a second time, how has your approach to the weekend changed to a year ago? And your thoughts on oval racing compared to last year, have that changed?
Yeah, I think my experience of it was fairly limited before going in. We had that one day of should we say rookie testing, and that was with 4 or 5 other cars on track. And it was great at the test. I was getting a good feeling for it. But when you go out for that 50 minutes of practice and you've got 25, 26 other cars on track and you can't even get a single corner clear on your own, it's a pretty big shock, especially someone coming from Europe without any oval experience at all. So now I kind of understand how it works. I know what to expect. One of our things for ovals was that we aren't good in the qualifyings, and that was very frustrating for me last year because I'd be on a Saturday like, oh no, we're really slow, we're out of it, and then find that actually we've got a pretty solid race car, especially with the tire degradation. We were able to make the tires last longer than most teams, which meant we had good race pace. And I'd find on Sundays that I wouldn't need to worry as much, but I wouldn't know that going in on the Saturday thinking, oh, the car's not great, this is going to be a long race. So that kind of thing I can relax a little bit more, and just be a bit patient. And then also Texas was my first oval. I mean, that's some scary stuff. Honestly, when you're 220 miles an hour side by side with someone, constantly going around the corners side by side, a couple of inches between you. You've got to trust the guy on the inside of you. He's got to trust you. It's a bit of a it's a bit of a tough one to get used to. I got used to it. I loved Iowa. Was getting used to it at Gateway still. So it's going to be really interesting for me to go back to Texas, which was my first, and kind of show and see where I'm at after a year of oval racing in that sense.
Now, one follow up, you brought up Iowa, where you almost had two top 10 finishes. And then, of course, Indianapolis, there's a lot of track time there, month of May, but unfortunately, you had an issue, crashed out. When it comes to the oval races, especially with Indianapolis, where you have so much time in practicing, testing, and then the qualifying, is that something, especially with the bigger ovals, you feel is a big benefit for you compared to the short ovals like Gateway and Iowa, where it's slower speeds compared to Texas and Indy, but you don't have essentially the massive speed and the chances of a hard impact like you do in the bigger ones?
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, really. Like you obviously have a lot of time in Indy to kind of narrow the car and get it into a window, which in kind of two ways means you're optimizing it, um, which can be make means that it's a great car, it's very fast, and on another side, maybe it's a bit on edge. And especially during those kind of 2 weeks, the temperature is getting warmer and warmer and warmer, and especially at Indy, that changes the car massively. So I found last year that our Indy 500 car from the start of testing to the race was massively different because of the higher temperatures, and kind of one of the reasons why it caught us out and caught me out was making the car balance so different, and I didn't really anticipate that. We didn't really anticipate that. But going to Iowa, for example, that was more what I kind of liked. A bit slower speed, more on edge, kind of like going through a high speed corner on a road course. I felt so much more comfortable when I got to that stage of the year. I think just because I've now done the speedways, this was more in my territory of what I'm closer to what I'm used to. And that was much easier. So that's why for me, like I'm interested to go back to Texas and kind of see on a comfort level where I'm at, because the end of the year was so much better on that side. But I have to say that the car is real edgy on that 500 course. Like that was it's not easy at all. Like just so surprising when it breaks away and it's all fine, fine, and then suddenly, the first time I had a moment was in the race, and I'm like, okay, we've just done 2 weeks of testing, and then the one moment I get is the one that catches me out. That's not easy to anticipate or to deal with, but it's the way it is. And then Iowa, you can feel it a lot more. The car's in a different window, and yes, the impacts are less, but the speed is slightly less as well. So they're difficult in their own ways. Iowa is a very intense weekend. You've got a Saturday race and a Sunday race, super bumpy. You run the car very differently, quite a bit more downforce, and then you get to Indy where it's just, oh, it's super fast, almost like a road course in a certain way because it's a bit flatter, very smooth, and you're on the limit, so on the limit.
Now we know Texas has been a tricky track lately for passing. Does this add more emphasis on qualifying? And what makes Texas more challenging than some of the other ovals like Iowa and Gateway?
Yeah, Texas is definitely. I think qualifying is quite important, and yeah, more important than Iowa, for example. But the strategy is massively important, and of course, it's more kind of like how long can you go on the tires, especially the first stint, to extend an extra 10, 20 laps when the track's a bit greener. Um, but the cautions catch you out there. I think that's what was big for some people last year, is being on the right side of the caution, which you try to be, but you never know what you're kind of going to get. And then on the other side of that, the passing is quite difficult, yes, especially with that PJ1. I think it was an improvement already last year, but still on edge. We're going to do some high line running, which seemed to work well at Gateway and Iowa. Well, Iowa doesn't need it already; it's already quite good. But hopefully that can improve it with the more cars that go and do that and lay some rubber down. But I think it should be an improvement over last year. We got more downforce as well. Should be closer to a pack running, but not that we're going to be doing that. Um, so yeah, I think it should be a good show. But it's 220 miles an hour. I was about 185, maybe 180 actually. So it's quite a step above. It's a proper speedway race. You're trying to be flat in 3 and 4 all the time. Iowa's a big lift, 1, 2, and 3, 4. So it's a different style of racing. Very easy to lose momentum.
Last year, we saw Will Power. He won the championship and he only won one race that year. For a smaller team, is focusing on the consistency, scoring points each and every race, more of a priority compared to putting a strategy to try to be more aggressive and go for the win?
In this position, yes, I think it depends on the situation we're kind of in. Like if I can get that win, I'm going for that win. I don't care because it's so we're in that position where it's so hard to achieve. I think, and especially like you said, Will Power only won one on a championship winning year. You've got to get it when you can, and I think for us, we'll have hopefully a couple of weekends where we have the ability to do that. But I've got to take it. But of course, when it's like P5 to P10, like at St. Pete, as soon as I was about P7, P8, I was like, okay, this is good points for us. I don't need to risk anything. Let's just take the points because it's a solid weekend. I'm not going to win from here, so may as well just take what we can get, and solidly finish the weekend. But if I'm P3, P2, and I can go and get that win, I mean, that would be great for us. I'd rather fail trying than never try and not succeed.
Now, IndyCar, very competitive series, seems so many drivers are in contention for winning a race. The track's very diverse selection, and drivers from all around the world. now that you have been here almost essentially 2 full years. What are some of the aspects you enjoyed the most about IndyCar racing?
Yeah, it's super competitive, super tight. I think that's pretty obvious. We've got some real world-class drivers, XF1 drivers, the veteran IndyCar drivers who've been there for years and are the kind of benchmark for every young driver to come in. We've got some young ones coming up as well. I mean, I hope I'm still count as one of the young ones, but um, it's super impressive how tight everything can be with the spec series. Obviously, there's some difference in the dampers, and it's really surprising how much of a difference they make. You know, you can run the car in so many different ways, and it makes it super tight, but also you can sometimes miss a bit, get it wrong, especially on some weekends, and even the big teams do. But it allows a team like us, when we get it right, to be competitive as well on very basic stuff compared to some of them. Um, on a freedom side, it kind of gave that impression of very relaxed, even though it is relaxed, but it's intense, super intense whilst you're there. But then you have the curfews, which are a lot more strict, but finish earlier. You know, so everyone's left the track by 5 or 6. That's it, done. Um, so it's different. It's very different, and I enjoy that part of it. I think that the drivers have quite a good relationship with each other. Everyone's there for the improvement of the series. I think if there's ever really a clash, apart from a select few of drivers, you can just have a beer over it and sort things out. You know, it's very laid back and very easy. And you can kind of tell people when they're being idiots sometimes, and most of the time they'll go, "Yeah, you're right. I was. I'm sorry." Which is good, and I respect that. Obviously, coming from Europe, especially on the junior single seater side, it was very competitive and so serious all the time. It's nice to kind of be serious but respectful in a certain way, and everyone's there to do the same job. Also, from my side, I'm building a team more. I'm working for a greater good, trying to improve everyone than just trying to win and be myself, you know. So I respect that and I enjoy it quite a lot. And obviously, I'm living in Indy, spending a lot of time here, training a lot, try and make my life easier in the car on those Sundays. So yeah, it's a different aspect for me, but big commitment. I spent a long time in Italy, setting up my life there, and then it was quite a change when I came out here and had to restart. But that's life, and you get on with it, and you try and do the best job you can.
Callum, thank you so much for your time. Best of luck to you this weekend.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for watching us right here on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe and check out some of our other videos, including Life on the Grid, where we interview folks from the motorsports industry. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.